Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks for coming by. Today, we're just gonna do some catching up because I've been a little out of pocket, been on vacation a little bit, and then just taking a little, I don't know, just doing summer, getting busy. I've been really busy kind of this summer, and then, life stuff. I don't know. Sometimes you just don't feel like making a video. So I'm here. I'm gonna catch up on July because I've not wrapped up anything I read in July, or my fun stuff. So I'm gonna do that too, but. I just do a separate video for fun stuff. But anyway, we're going to talk about books that I read in July. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. I did a reread for Jiyoung Born 1982 by Cho Nam Joo. I wanted to reread this for K-Tropathon, and I was part of a live show where we were over at Christy from Christy Lewis Dostoevsky and Space's channel. She is one of the co-hosts for K-Tropathon, and she invited me on to do a little chat about some of our favorite Korean books. And so I wanted to talk about this book again, but I wanted to read it before I talked about it again. This is not my third time reading it. I love it all over again. This is one of my favorite books ever. I will never not recommend it, and I don't really know what more to say about it. I have a full book review about this one. I've talked about it a lot, so I'll link that live show below as well if you are interested in what everyone else was thinking, because of course Christy was there and Tiffany, our beautiful Money Show, the other co-host for K-Tropathon, or Dia from Not Live Dia. Yeah. So yeah, it was a really fun little chat, and yeah, I love this book. So I mean, I don't know what else to say other than if you haven't read it yet, read it. So. And then I read, this is the one book I read for July Noir. I read The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. And I'm pretty sure if I remember, I did the audiobook for this one, yeah. And I really liked this a lot. And I'm so glad I finally read this. Just wanted to share again. That was, my signed copy. I love this cover and everything for this. This is a YA horror novel, and it was spun as like a sort of retelling of Carrie, and I definitely see that here. We were following a young girl in high school, and she is much like Carrie White's character in that she's a bit of an outsider, and people, definitely, she's not included in much of the fun things that teens get into, all that kind of thing. And what's her name? Maddie, right? Yeah, Maddie. And until one day, right, something happens, and then the story goes from there. I don't really want to say much more because there's a lot going on here. Of course, a lot of them here about race, particularly how it revolves in this sort of small town, and as it deals particularly with their prom that they've got coming up. Just a lot in here. I really loved it. I really enjoyed. I think it was my second book by this author now. Second or third, at least the second. And yeah, I like her a lot, and I like this book a lot. So if you're looking for a book for August, the YA reading event coming in August, we still have some time, definitely read this one for a horror novel because it was really good. I really liked it. Okay, next. I read Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. I loved this too. Everything is like 4 to 5 stars for this month. I had a fantastic reading month. Enjoyed everything that I read, including this one. And this is, we've got this couple in New York. They've just had a baby, and the wife has become disabled through the birth process and is a wheelchair user. And they've been was in this little, not the best living situation until they find they have kind of won the like rental lottery to move into, is it in here, the Deptford, yeah, so this sort of upper class sort of hoity-toity well-known apartment building in New York City, right? So it seems like they were like, gosh, we won this lottery and all that, yada yada, sounds great, And so they move in, and maybe, of course, that wasn't the best idea, and things start happening, and there are sort of, kind of a kooky cast of characters that live there. We're following, as we're getting to know things, and there's definitely some creepy stuff going on in this apartment building. I loved this story. I just thought it was fantastic, and it was, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's just, I loved the characters. I love the discussion here of of disability. And also there's a class, going on here as well. Parenting, because there's, a little baby in here. I don't know. And then there's this sort of historical nature of these sort of apartment buildings in New York City, which kind of have their own history and, sort of, the buildings themselves are, sort of famous, so yeah, I don't know. I really liked this. This is my second 5-star by this author, so I think would say I'm a fan of Nat Cassidy. Yeah, I really loved this. What does this I have marked here? Let me think. Let's see what this is. I know I'm not much of a tabber, but adulthood was all about compromises, wasn't it? You decide what you need, what you want, and shift your priorities around until you find the least bad combination. Each compromise was a link in a chain, and if that chain dragged you down to the bottom of the East River, well, at least you had Netflix and Spotify to distract you while you sank. Yeah, that was pretty good. So yeah, highly recommend. Loved it. I don't know. It was good. Yeah. Look, I'm not wrapping these up very well, but it also at the same time feels like it was like 3 years ago that I read these books, right? Did you ever get that? Okay, I read this book called Spooky Lakes by Rutherford. It is a picture book talking about spooky lakes, lakes that have, different kind of, they're not your normal lakes, sometimes they're maybe very highly acidic or, I don't know, all kinds of different things, so it was very good. I loved the illustrations in it. I forgot to bring it back up. It's downstairs. I'm not going to go downstairs again. Had really great illustrations, and it was good. I really recommend looking into it. And it's just sort of a big format, kind of picture book, and then like a couple, few paragraphs about each lake, where they're located, and all that kind of thing. It was a lot of fun. Okay, and then my pal Paris had read this book, and I saw that she read it and she loved it, and I was like, oh, I want to read that, And so I put it all in the library. My hold came in for the audiobook, and it's Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. And yeah, very good. So very good. I cried a little bit. There's so much drama happening here. Very super interesting characters. Okay, what's going on? We are on this island, remote island. I think it's near, I'm forgetting now, I think it was near Antarctica. And there is sort of remnants of this kind of research facility there. And that's been kind of evacuated, really. And there's a caretaker kind of family that has been on the island as well, just looking after the island and, things like that also. And so what we're following are these family members. There's like a father, and then there are 3 kids. They're a bit older. Some of them, well, I think the boy and the girl are even late teens, even possibly even early 20s. And then there's like a younger boy. It doesn't matter. Pretty soon they're going to have to leave the island as well because, global things are happening with the sort of not population. Where is the word I'm looking for? Weather and stuff. Climate. That's the word. Is making. The island, it's not gonna make it much longer as far as it's the gist of I'm going here anyway. And then soon, at the opening of the story, this woman, kind of, crash lands on, onto the shore. She's washed ashore, and then they bring her, in and try to, rescue her and save her. And then she gets wrapped up in the family. Because they're not having someone to come get them to pick them up for I think several weeks, but she actually has also a sort of motive of her own of coming to the island, and so we get wrapped up in all this drama. There's secrets, twists, and turns of this story, set against this beautiful sort of backdrop of this really isolated island and things like that. No, the scientists that were there were basically sort of keeping a seed bank, essentially, of all sorts of seeds and things, in case some sort of, world in an apocalyptic situation, we have these seeds to grow food and stuff and things like that, right? But like I said, it's not gonna last much longer, and it is sad because it's gonna flood and everything. Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, just we get sort of some back and forth with this family, learning more about their history, about how they ended up in this place, and then again, like I said, this woman's sort of motives for landing there. It was so good. Yeah, it was so good. I just was like just chomping at the bit wanting to listen to this audiobook, and I just devoured it. It was so good. It was so good. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's so good. Thank you to my friend Paris for recommending it. And then I don't have this book. I had to take it back to the library. It is At Dusk by Hwang Sok-Yung, and this, of course, I read for K-Tropathon. I didn't write the translator down. If I remember, I'll look it up and try to put it here. So it's translated from the Korean, of course. This was also really good, you guys. It was really good. Okay, so it's really about the repercussions of advancement, right? Of not like technology, but growth, growth of a country, growth of cities. If you know, I don't know like tons and tons about South Korean history, but I do know a little bit. And they had, of course, this rapid industrial growth, starting kind of 50s, 60s, primarily into 70s, even into the 80s and stuff. That just was just rapid expansion of cities and building and growing, and just mass. And but again, some things had to be sort of sacrificed in a way. Small villages and things like that. People were fleeing small towns and villages and countryside to the bigger cities and things like that as well. And sort of, again, at what cost, right? And is the cost worth it? And we're kind of exploring these thoughts through this kind of older man who is an architect and who kind of had a hand to it, both kind of demolishing like whole villages to build shiny, bright new things, which in a sense erased his own history as he's from one of these small places. And then, of course, kind of establishing his personal history of like a legacy of what he's leaving behind as far as the buildings he's building. And then there's a story wrapped up in this character that he knew in the past and everything as well. So it was really good, very just insightful, and yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it a lot. Very thought-provoking and beautifully written, and super, just very interesting characters. Yeah, it was really good. Really liked it. Yeah, it was great. Okay, for the Death by TBR book club, I own this book too, and I don't know where it is. It's Cuckoo by Gretchen Felker-Martin. I like this too. Yeah, I really like this one a lot as well. So this is a horror novel, and we've got some characters who have been in the past had been sent to basically a conversion camp because they are gay, and so their families basically, just kind of sent them away and to this camp. And this camp, there's something that's going on. There's something else going on, and they are. I don't want to say too much to be a spoilery, but let's say sometimes when people leave the camp, they are very changed. Okay, so we've got this little cast of characters that during their time at the camp were able to kind of escape and flee what was going on, right? But some years later, as they're still struggling with things that happened and occurred, and they think maybe we should go back and just kind of end it for good. So it's kind of like one of those stories, And so that's but again, basically the gist of it. But what I really liked about this was the characters. They're, and they're from different kinds of backgrounds and everything, all sent to this place because their family, just can't accept that, they are different than what they're, I guess, expecting them to be, and they just, of course, they just want to live their lives and be their authentic selves, right? It's sad in that way, but but there's also, you know, this sort of taking of power because they didn't want to give up and then lose themselves, right? So there's that in there too, the fight to, you know, to be who you are. All that I really appreciate. There's a lot of really great, like, sort of body horror imagery in here as well. And just what's going on at the camp, like, really kind of blew my mind. So it's very cool and horrific and very original and clever and good stuff. It's good stuff. In this book, read it. It's very good. For K-Tropathon, again, I don't have this book. I had to take it back to the library, but I have Your Republic is Calling You, by Young Kim. Again, I forgot to write the translator. Translated from English, of course, translated from Korean. This one I wanted to read for the K-Tropathon prompt to that involved a spy, and this one seemed perfect because we're essentially following this man who has been a North Korean spy living in the South for like 20 plus years. And he really had thought he was just kind of forgotten about at this point because he had lost contact, like, with his, you know, his like one contact that he was, you know, reaching out to or would reach out to him, that kind of thing. And he had lost track of this guy, gosh, over 10 plus years. And so he just thought he was kind of abandoned and stranded, you know, and he's gotten married and has a teenage daughter. I mean, he's just living his life. And until he gets the call, right, that you need to come home. It's time, you got to come home now. And he's like panicking because, again, he's been in the South for 20 years now, and he's like, do I want to go home? Should I run? Should I go back? Should I stay? All kinds of things. And it kind of, you know, goes back and forth in time to his time growing up in North Korea, how he kind of got into this situation of, you know, being the spy, the training he had to do for that, getting sent over, what, you know, the things that they did for him to, like, practice being a Southerner were kind of mind-blowing. And honestly, I would not, it wouldn't surprise me if this stuff was like really happened. Anyway, and then we also are getting a perspective from his wife and his daughter as well, and which I thought was interesting to kind of intersperse that with the story to make it really flesh out this man's tale, because, you know, his life is not just his own, you know, at this point. If he was just a single man, yeah, I know he's still, you know, sort of believed in the cause and whatever, like he would just go back, right? But when you throw in, you know, you've got a wife and a child and you built a life here now, right? And his wife is going through some stuff too. I feel like she's kind of going through some kind of, I hate to say like middle-age crisis, because it feels like not quite as trite as that, but so she's got some stuff going on. And then we've got, of course, a teenage daughter who's doing teenage daughter-y things and just trying to figure out her life as well. And it was super interesting. I'm telling you, it takes this place over like the span of like a day, so it's very fast paced. Even though we get these flashbacks, you know, interspersed in kind of what's going on in the modern, you know, in the present time. I don't know. It was super interesting. Highly recommend it. And I don't know. Yeah, it was good. I don't know what else to say. So, lastly, I read The Plotters by Kim Eun-soo. I think I read that. Did I write this down right? Eun-soo? Yeah. And again, another translated book from Korean. I read mostly for K-Tropathon, obviously, reading a lot of Korean books, but also super interesting. Okay, so this is kind of set in, I guess, what feels kind of like an alternate sort of South Korea. It feels very much rooted in kind of like today, but there's just, you know, other things going on, right? Kind of politically, I would say. And we're following this man who is a hired assassin, essentially, and he's, you know, hired to murder people, but he's hired by what are called plotters, and it's this chain really of people that there's people that hire the plotters who hire the assassins, you know, that kind of thing, and so we learned about his life and how, again, we kind of do some backtracking here too of how he ended up in this life, his sort of upbringing of being brought up as an assassin, and again, just kind of falling into this life, and that's just really what he's known. And because at some point, like if you're an assassin, like sometime like your number is probably going to be called, right? And so I think he's kind of grappling with that in a way of like what is he doing, you know? And can you be so just sort of heartless in that way? Is it just a job? Is it just a job, or is there more? I don't know. It was just super interesting. Really enjoyed, getting this type of story through this character. I thought he was just, really interesting. It's very intriguing, and that's how I ended the month. I feel like I rambled through everything here. If you have made it this far, bless you. But anyway, so that was my July. Again, everything I read, I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was just a heck of a month. Heck of a good month. Very happy, and I hope you had a great month too. So I'm late in wrapping up on my July, I feel like, but I hope you had a good July. Let me know kind of maybe what your favorite book was or whatever. If you've read any of these, let me know. Did you read Nestlings? Did you cry while reading Wild Dark Shore? Let me know. That's it. So thanks for watching. As always, I hope you're doing well, having a great summer, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right. Bye, guys. Really about the, I guess, like the, what's the word? I cannot think of words. You guys, don't get old because you literally can't think of words that you normally know anymore.